Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters and dear friends. Welcome to another episode of Talk to Me Show. I'm your host, Ali Dawah. We've got a very unique topic today, which is, before I get to it, I'm going to introduce my guests. On my left, I have the devil's advocate, who'll be playing the role of counteracting the other side. Basically, he's just going to be portraying the other side of the argument, you know. And your name is?
Hamza.
Brother Hamza, mashallah. And on his left, we have Dawah Muhammad Hijab, who's going to be touching upon this topic, which is dear to his heart. And on my right, we have Brother Asif and Brother Yusuf. Yusuf, that's it. Okay, so today's topic is feminism. Can you be a feminist Muslim? Yeah? This is the topic today. I'm going to go straight to Brother Muhammad Hijab. Yeah? He's done a bit of study on this as well. So, brother, let me ask you a question, Aki. Can you be a feminist Muslim? Because obviously there's a lot of sisters today, or like in today's time, who say, yes, what's wrong? What's wrong with being a feminist Muslim? However, do you agree with that?
Well, I'll get started by saying that I had a kind of tour, which I know you were involved in, where we went to different universities in the UK, and I lectured on this topic of feminism, which has given me like a broad understanding of the movement, because I've had more interaction time with feminists and stuff like that, and I've been a critic of feminism, and that's obvious from anyone who knows my works. I've been a critic of feminism and aspects of it, and there's been lots of support from Muslims and non-Muslims, surprisingly, of my criticisms, my philosophical criticisms of feminism. However, having said that, I think before we sort of say yes or no to your question, which is an important question, it's important for us to understand that usually a typical working definition of feminism is that someone is, that there's equality on a social, political and economic level, yeah? And generally speaking, I don't see that runs counter to Islam on a general sense, because the Prophet Muhammad said in the hadith, which is narrated by Aisha, إِنَّمَا النِّسَاءُ شِقَائِقُ الرِّجَالِ, that certainly men are equal to women. So generally speaking, the premise of feminism and the premise of Islam in terms of rulings and injunctions is actually the same. However, what I've said before and I'll say again, is that the exceptions in terms of prescriptions and injunctions, that's where there are differences. Now, there are other feminist definitions. Like, for example, Adichie, who's a Nigerian feminist who recently actually done a TED talk called Everyone Should Be a Feminist, which was then translated into a book, very small book. Listening to her talk or even reading her book, it'd be very difficult for even any Muslim kind of to disagree with her wholeheartedly, because a lot of the things that she touches upon as a moderate feminist is a lot of the things that the Quran itself touches upon. For example, infanticide, it talks about sexual exploitation of women. She talks about the fact that women are more than sexual objects. She talks generally about the fact that women are seen and as less important than men. And from an Islamic perspective, there's great discussion in this in the Quran. For example, the references in the Quran that sons are not better than daughters, generally speaking. Sons are not better than daughters. And this is one of her points that she raised, and she was putting it in an African context. So the point I'm saying here is, yes, I think generally speaking, in terms of prescriptions and injunctions, if we look at the feminist movement as a whole from the sort of 1960s, where the second wave of feminism kind of was bolstered or took prominence until this day, it's difficult to say that there is an absolute agreement between the Islamic discourse and the feministic discourse. However, having said that, I would say that moderate feminists like Adichie, I'm saying her name correctly, who was the author of this book, Everyone Should Be a Feminist, which on the face of it seems like a very provocative book, right? Actually, there's a lot of the things that she says in that book which we'd actually agree with as Muslims. Okay. So from that angle, we could actually collaborate on things that she raised.
So just to, in a nutshell, do you agree that a sister or brother can come and say, I am a feminist Muslim?
I think the labeling is incorrect, because based on the Quran where it says...
I need a yes or no answer.
So I would say the labeling is not correct.
The labeling is not correct. Okay, just going to do a little thing. How many people will class themselves as feminist Muslims here? Just be real with yourself. Don't be shy, because you just... we're going to come to that. But before we come, who will say, I am a feminist Muslim? Don't be shy, brother. 1, 2, we've got 4 brothers, and we've got maybe nearly all the sisters, yeah? Okay, let's go to the sisters, those who put their hands up. What does feminism, what do you understand when you hear the word feminism? So let's go to the sister in the corner, inshallah.
First of all, I don't really agree with the term feminism when it refers to radical feminists.
Okay.
That's not something I agree with, but I think feminism in terms of Islam, first of all, we have to recognize that Islam gave rights to Muslim women 1400 years ago. As far as I'm concerned, it took the UK like 1300 years to catch up with.
Yes.
So, but I think the problem is that it's culture and it's religion. Most societies are patriarchal and they apply the culture before the religion, and that's what's taken a lot of rights away from Muslim women.
Okay, so
And
when
that's
you
what
say
people
you're
are
a
pushing back.
feminist Muslim, what is, like, because I have to beg the question and ask, what is feminism offering that Islam isn't? Like, because it makes me feel like when you come and say, I'm a feminist Muslim, or when a majority of the sisters saying, I'm a feminist Muslim, I'm trying to question here, what is feminism offering that Islam isn't? Or is it like, you can say, Brother Ali, that's got nothing to do with anything. Let's go to this sister here at the front, inshallah. Yes, sister, so...
For example, when we look at in particular, the Indian subcontinent, where there's a lot of acid attacks on women who reject proposals, who shame the family. Islam has been in the subcontinent for many years, but people are not understanding it. So what needs to happen is women do need to come together and kind of lobby for people to be punished harshly. And this needs feminism, because Islam's been there for many years and people are not listening.
Okay, okay. So then I might come and say, you know what, sister? Like, I'm just for example, if they're not listening to Islam, which is divine, what makes you or feminists here believe that a woman coming, like for example, from their perspective, they're going to come and say, look, if they're not listening, throwing acid, which is haram in Islam anyway, if they're not going to listen to the one who's created them, what makes you think they're going to listen to a group of feminists? This is a question that somebody might want to ask. Let's to the sisters, inshallah, let them say what they got to say. We're going to come to the brothers. So let's go to the sister in the middle here.
Yeah, I have a different point. My point is I'm a feminist in my culture.
You're a feminist in your culture?
Yeah, because I believe in my culture. As a girl, I am undermined sometimes. But in my deen, I feel like Islam makes me a feminist. Islam empowers women anyway. Like when I become a mother, Jannah is under my feet. So I feel like as a Muslim, I'm protected. So I am a feminist. So if
Islam gives you that, sister, I'm just going. Okay. Then why do you need to call yourself a feminist? Why don't you just call yourself a Muslim? Like, somebody might beg the question, like, okay, if Islam is giving you all of this, why are you adding something into there?
I think it's the idea that feminism even though it has lots of different sects, it's the idea that we are empowered. Don't forget us, we're females. Like, don't undermine us. I think that's why a lot of people say we are feminists in that way.
Okay. This sister here, inshallah, and then we're going to come to the sister.
Yeah, so I agree with the sister with her point, because I feel that it's more or less like giving the voiceless a voice. So a lot of women, whether it's forced marriages, honor killings, and acid attacks, with reference to the sister, we definitely need like that kind of a platform where women can actually say that yes, we're feminist, we're Muslim, we're proud, and we're feminist as well, and obviously, you know, we're fighting for our rights.
Okay, I'm going to come to the sister. Okay, got trouble.
I think it's important to notice as well that you have different types of feminists, which you pointed out. You have liberation feminists, you have equality feminists. And like there's one very famous feminist called Germaine Greer, and she is the feminist icon. You know, from the 70s. She's a second wave feminist, but she's a liberation feminist. So she said in her opening chapter of her very famous book, The Whole Woman, that liberation for women is not about asserting equality, but about asserting difference with dignity and prestige.
Okay.
And that's the point here. Because a lot of radical feminists, which I'm sure everyone disagrees with, will say that...
We're going to find out. We're going to find out.
Well, generally speaking, they will sort of claim that there are no differences between the sexes. Very absurd claims like, you know, gender and sex are both social constructs. So,
okay. All right. Before we come back to the sisters, some brothers put their hands up saying they're feminists, which I'm quite excited to hear about. I'm going to come to, and brothers, those who put their hands up, can you put up again? Don't worry, I'm not going to pick on you.
You put your hand up, bro.
Yeah, just listen. I just want to know. I just want to know. I want to come to this brother in the corner, where you're coming from. So when you say, obviously you said, okay, what do you define as feminism? You call yourself a feminist Muslim. Why?
I wouldn't exactly say. Well, I agree with like honoring women. Like believe that they should be honored. They should be respected. That
definitely, Islam teaches that.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of aspects of feminism comes in line with that.
Okay.
And obviously there's like a fine line where I wouldn't say like aspects of feminism that go against Islam. I wouldn't agree like
You wouldn't. So you're saying I would go with what's going with Islam?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but then why are you calling yourself feminist Muslim, Aki? Because the thing is, that's like me going to a Christian and saying, you know what? For example, there's Unitarian Christians and they believe in the oneness of God. So am I going to say I'm a Christian Muslim? Do you get what I'm trying to say? I'm not. So I'm just trying to understand where you're coming from. You brothers, you put your hands up, yeah? There's no time to regret now. We're gonna come to you guys, inshallah. What do you mean by you're a feminist Muslim? Like I'm trying to grasp this understanding, because the brother here is saying what goes with Islam is calm, you know. But is this your point of view, or are you more of the extremist kind? Yes, okay, yeah, you.
I never classified myself as a feminist, but what I would say is that in our sort of society, Islam and religion isn't necessarily taken to be like the highest sort of divine sort of ruling and things like that. And so we come to feminism in our society because people feel as though it's something that everyone sort of understands, it's rights for everyone. And so because of that, we're going to come to feminism rather than going to Islam, because people don't necessarily understand Islam, or people don't necessarily find Islam to be the most divine ruling, like in terms of Western society and Western culture. And so because of that, some Muslims will go to feminism instead of going to Islam, and I think that's where the main issue lies.
So is that why you would say you're...
I don't classify myself as a feminist, but that's what I think people feel.
But can't somebody come and say, for example, sorry, he made me forget when he did that quick. What was he saying? What was your last point? So basically, can't somebody come and say, okay, just because feminism is something that people are using now, Islam was sent for all mankind throughout the time. So are you saying just because feminism is being used now, we need to speak in their language and use that to push our agenda? Would someone might come and disagree with that and be like, no, but these two brothers, I'm sure you guys put your hands up, yeah? One of you two, inshallah, if you can maybe, if you want to support each other, hold hands and, reply to my... What do you define as feminism when you say you're a feminist Muslim?
I would say that generally speaking, it would be being equal in certain ways. Everything would not be equal to, if I'm pretty honest with you. But the normal aspects such as equality, honouring each other equally, respecting each other, that's just general. You should, even Islam teaches us to do that. But I would say there's certain things that would be where I was saying I'm a feminist. But however, there's certain things that I would say women, I wouldn't say should not do, but I would actually say they should not do, because it would just go against Islam. But
then you'll be outside the fold of feminism with that.
I know, but I said the feminism I'm saying that I am part of is the part of that Islam teaches, that respecting, that would be feminism.
Exactly. So do you think you are agreeing with this brother by saying whatever goes with Islam and whatever doesn't we reject?
Yes.
So then this is, I think the question here, and the misunderstanding, we're going to go to the sisters, is that I think we're not really understanding what feminism is here, because there's a bit of confusion here, because the brothers are putting their hands up, but maybe they're not understanding fully. Let's go to the sister here, inshallah, then we're going to come.
First of all, feminism isn't a doctrine, it's not a religion. It doesn't have a set rules, and everybody has to subscribe to that rules, and if you don't, it contradicts your religious identity. I personally do not classify myself as a feminist. However, there's a reason why people turn towards feminism instead of religion. It's because it's very hard to get men to rally around the issues of women. Even now, when some of them classify themselves as feminists, everybody was kind of laughing at them as if it's funny that they take gender issues seriously.
Yeah.
But it's not funny, especially for many of us who are forced into marriages, who are beaten, who have religious forced on us. So it's not, it's a very serious issue to us.
You're very right. But the question that needs to be asked here is this, and I think both need to acknowledge this. These things that are being forced, acid attacks, forced marriages, for example, abusing your wife, whatever it may be, do we solve this issue with feminism or by implementing the Quran and Sunnah back where it needs to be? Because it's a really vital question, brothers and sisters. The question that I'm looking for here is this. These issues are happening. We are all together and saying this is wrong. The woman has rights. But do we advocate that by saying feminism? Or do we say, you know what? These men need to be taught the Quran and Sunnah in the right way to treat me in the right way. Let's go to this. Okay,
can we really say it's just a solely feminist issue? So when we talk about acid attacks, domestic abuse, isn't it more of a moral issue, would you say?
Very valid.
More of a moral issue. It's a crime, and they should just be taught the law, to respect the law, have decency and respect.
Very valid point. Before I'm going to come...
Which transcends these isms.
Okay, before I come to the brother, because it's a feminist topic and too many brothers are talking, we don't want to get refuted by feminists. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the sister right at the back here. Yeah, sister, you.
Yes, you said some...
Okay, after you. Okay, sorry. Yeah, the sister next to you. Yeah, and then we'll go to the sister next to you.
So what you're saying about whether this is a moral issue or this is a feminist issue, I think if you look all around the world, it's not just a Muslim issue that can be solved with Islam. I think feminism is a very important tool to increase the dialogue with non-Muslim societies as well, because this is not just a Muslim issue. Violence against women, crimes against women, this is an issue that's happening all around the globe, and historically women have been the oppressed gender. And while Islam says that men and women are equal in social and economic terms and political terms, there is the issue that historically women have been suppressed, and feminism highlights that and brings that to the forefront, saying that, you know, this is the group that needs to come forward.
Okay, let's go to the sister.
Yes, so you said something about, you know, following Islam or for feminism. Regarding Islam and within the Quran, many scholars, many Muslims interpret the Quran in different ways, and many of the scholars, many of the Muslims see that the male, the man, is the one who's dominant. He's the one who shows the woman how to live her life and things like that. But feminism, they, as the sister said here, highlights the things that a woman can do without being guided by a man. And as we Muslims read Khadija radiallahu anha, who is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's wife, the first wife, his love, she was a very feminist woman in Islam.
Can we say maybe she was a very Muslim woman? Because
yes, but
I want to come to two more sisters before I come here. Please forgive me. This sister and then this sister, and then we're going to come to this one. Yes, sister.
Yeah, I think what we're forgetting is feminism is an ideology, like Marxism and functionalism. So we can't say we are feminists because then we're following an ideology. If as females, if we're going to say we're a feminist, then we'll say Islam highlights what feminists are already highlighting. So because religion is a belief.
The question is, if that's the case, then why are we calling ourselves feminist Muslim? Let's go to the sister finally, and then I'm going to come to this brother, and then you. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry. Did you? Okay.
Before we
first this brother, and then
dive into any other issue, I wanted to open up the discussion. Maybe perhaps look at the crisis of manhood, because if we can talk about feminism, we need to talk about manhood as well. And if we look at, you know, the way the media is now sort of reflecting, you know, the official truths and beliefs of society, men are seen as more vulnerable than they ever were. And this is probably down to the breakdown of the traditional family.
Yes.
And you know, I was watching this lecture by Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad, and he was talking about the crisis of masculinity. And he talks about, you know, certain Hollywood movies. So he talks about Star Wars, and he, you know, mentions how traditionally you had the idea of the male hero. Now if we look at most movies, you have the heroine, and the man tends to be sort of vulnerable. You know, he would sob, cry, tearful.
That's not manly.
And you know, if you watch Hunger Games, for example, you have Katniss Everdeen. She's like she's got a very strong personality. And then Peter, you know, he's very sort of small, and
I
understand. It's that sort of perception that's out there now, where the woman should be much stronger than the man, and she should be empowered.
So it's messing with the fitra. This sister first, and then after that we're going to come to this brother, and then have a quick thing, inshallah. Yes, sister.
The point that this sister made, that feminism is an ideology, we have to make sure that we understand it's not a religion. For example, I'm a big fan of anti-war movement. I'm against the war in Iraq and against the war in Syria. Meaning, so can I not associate myself with that because I'm a Muslim? Can I not associate myself with anti-racism groups because I'm a Muslim? It doesn't make sense. It's an ideology, not a religion.
You're right, sister. Again, like I said, from a different point of view, somebody might come and say, look, associate yourself, no problem. I would come and, for example, if feminists are giving out leaflets about women's rights, for example, something that doesn't violate the Islamic understanding, I have no problem. The issue here is calling one a feminist Muslim. Something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I mean, it's just an extension of what Hamza said when he said that is this issue more of an issue of morality? I think it's actually more than anything else, rather than it being a gender issue. I think it's more of a cultural issue. One of the sisters mentioned how we live in a patriarchal society, and a lot of these issues could actually be dealt with if we dealt with the cultural problems within the society that we live in. I mean, one of the sisters, and this comes down to the crisis of masculinity as well. Like one of the sisters mentioned about forced marriages. I mean, I did a little survey on Twitter, and just some people that I know at a university, and just anecdotal, I said, you know, who do you know who gets forced into marriages more? Is it guys or is it sisters or brothers? And maybe you can ask this question to yourself, but I actually feel that the ones who are forced into marriage more, at least in the society that we live in, I mean, in the UK, in London in particular, it's more brothers who are actually being forced into marriages more than sisters.
Really?
Yeah. I'm pretty. I mean, this is anecdotal.
Cause some havoc in the studio.
No, this is anecdotal. I'm not talking about the ones who are in developing countries. I'm talking about in the UK. Can you think of people that you can think of? Most of the people that I know of, there are definitely some sisters. I'm not saying they're not sisters, but sure there seem to be more brothers who are forced into marriages because of cultural issues. They have to get married to someone, their cousin or something along those lines. And maybe they're being forced as well. But I'm talking about from the people in the Western culture. So I think a lot of these things can actually be dealt with from a cultural perspective, rather than it being like a gender issue. And I actually feel that some of the women, they would actually be abhorred by some of the views of the feminists and how they've actually kind of hijacked, if you like, their causes. They did a very interesting survey in Saudi Arabia, and they actually talked about their main concerns. And when it came to women driving as a right for women, I'm not saying that it's something that women shouldn't be allowed to do. I'm not saying that's not the case. But that was really low down their list. They were more worried about education, about marriage, about all of these different issues. And really this thing about, women not driving, it's an issue, but the feminists, unfortunately, they amplify it a lot more than it's supposed to.
Muhammad Hijab, yes.
This was a good point that one of the sisters made before when she said that feminism is an ideology. I think it's been a massive conflation today in the audience with feminism as a political philosophy, because that's what it is. It's a political philosophy. It's an ideology, as she's mentioned. It's correct. And women's rights as a concept. Women's rights is a concept which feminism doesn't have a monopoly on. So you can embody women's rights in a variety of different ways. I mean, there was a recent survey in America with they were asking women. I think Reuters did it, or one of those organizations, and I think more than 80% of women disassociated themselves with feminism in America. And this does not mean that 80% of women in America are not pro-women's rights. I think this is the conflation that is being made, that I think anything that is feminism, it must be women's rights. We believe in women's rights. I mean, this is the thing we can say unequivocally and like without any problem. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran in chapter 4 verse 127, يَسْتَفْتُونَكَ فِي النِّسَاءِ قُلِ اللَّهُ يَفْتِيكُمْ فِيهِنَّ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that they ask you about women, concerning women's rights and women. Say Allah will tell you about that. So in other words, from a Quranic or Islamic perspective, we also believe we have a model that aims to liberate women, which is a model which is based on this a religious theological underpinning rather than a political philosophy. And this is the danger of calling yourself a feminist, because
keep it short.
I will try and keep it short. When you call yourself a feminist, you're associating yourself with the scholastic tradition that has existed ever since the first wave of feminism. And that unfortunately includes that which repudiates Islam. So then you have a conflict between Islamic theology and the feminist discourse.
So I want to ask a question to the brothers. Do you guys think you as a man have a right to talk about feminism? And this is a question to the sisters as well. Do you think, you brothers made some comments, do you believe as a man you have a right to talk about feminism? Yes. This brother, let's go to this brother, inshallah. Why do you think you have a right to talk about feminism?
In one line, I would say because a lot of times we actually see sisters, even though a lot of them may have said they're more feminist, they, with some sort of cultural fear or whatever fear, they're not able to speak out as much as sometimes the brother would actually want to speak out for them. So that's what I would say.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, brother, you want to say
just on this topic, just wanted to actually highlight that Islamically at the time of the Prophet and along the ages thereafter when the Muslims were living, this was never actually a problem. Now the reason when it came a problem was when societies or civilizations started to basically mistreat women or not give them the right to vote or not give. So these sort of movements then sort of rised. Whereas Islamically at the time of the Prophet, the women were given rights. The women were given these rights to basically go ahead.
Exactly, like what you said. These rights the feminists started this movement. Why? Because their rights were being violated. However, with Muslim women, there was no such issue. So the question that really needs to be answered, once again, I have to reiterate this, is why do we need to call ourselves feminist Muslim when Islam gave us these rights? But however, there's something you want to add on.
Yes, so
I was going to say, my problem here is that we're 4 men sitting here, 4 panelists. We're just mansplaining. We're mansplaining.
Yes.
And the issue here is that why is feminism such an issue? Why do we always talk about feminism? We don't talk about misogyny. Misogyny is probably a bigger issue than the issue of feminism in the Muslim community.
Is it?
I think so, yes.
Okay. Sisters, let's go to this sister here. Yes, sister.
Me?
Yeah.
I would like to reiterate that I do not classify myself as a feminist, but I absolutely agree with him. The reason why a lot of women lobby around feminism is because men and women are very unwilling to interact with the fact that there is a power system in place that subjugates women. You do find in a lot of Muslim societies, men refuse to educate the woman, even on the deen, for fear that she will know her rights. So people look towards a universal system that says you are a human being. That's all people want, to be recognised.
You're right, sister.
I'm not saying it contradicts. One has to classify themselves as feminist, but I'm saying the reason why people turn to that is because nothing was said before feminism said something.
But then, sorry to cut you, but once again, it comes back to, I'm sorry, because I'm trying to understand something here. If that's the case, we know these problems are out there. No, but the thing is, sister, the question is, why are we not implementing the Quran and the Sunnah? Why are we turning to something that's, like, let me ask...
We could ask men that.
Yes, yes, but that's the thing. We should implement the Quran and Sunnah. What I'm trying to say is, like, to sisters, okay, you guys say you're feminist, yeah? Okay, when, for example, inheritance, yeah? A man gets more than a woman, but obviously there's a context to it. In that instance, are you still a feminist? What happens then? Let's go to the sister in the corner. Quickly wrap up. We're going to quickly wrap up.
I'm still a feminist in that instance because I know why that law has been applied, and I know that men are supposed to look after the women in their family out of that money. However, any money that a woman keeps, she keeps that for herself. But the part of the problem is, like, not to criticize, but some ulama, they kind of they refuse to teach us about our rights. So it has become a case where that's been cut off. If there's an issue, an ulama from this country will say, oh, these are your rights, but an ulama from another country will say, oh, you need to just deal with it and accept it.
Okay,
and put
we've got time is finished. Sorry, guys. Maybe on another next episode. But that's about it, brothers and sisters. It was a hot topic. We maybe can do part 2 of this in the future, maybe, inshallah. Thank you very much, Barakallah Feek, for tuning in. May Allah bless you guys. Do keep tuned in for our next episode very soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.